Hello to all CINEMASTER lovers. Hope you enjoy watching. Let's get started. The movie Final Destination Part 1 and 2 starts at Alex's house, where he is packing his travel bag for a school trip to Paris with his friend. After getting his things ready, he says goodbye to his father and goes to sleep so he can wake up early for his trip. But before he falls asleep, he hears a strange voice calling him and feels as if something is watching him. The next day, Alex meets up with his friends Todd and Hitchcock at the airport, along with the other 40 students going on the trip. They check their papers, but Alex notices that almost all the flights have been changed or delayed except for theirs. The airport employee tells him he's lucky, as a flight number matches the day of his birth. The students gather in the waiting hall. Alex, his friends, Claire the introverted girl who doesn't talk to anyone, Carter and his girlfriend Wendy, and their supervising teacher, Ms. Luke. Strange things start happening, like Claire's book randomly opening to a page about a plane crash, and Alex hearing the voice of a singer who died in a plane crash while he's in the bathroom. Alex starts to feel that something is wrong. Everyone boards the plane except Hitchcock, who is late and can't be found. The weather is stormy and rainy. A group of girls ask Alex to switch seats so they can sit together, and he agrees, sitting next to Todd. The tray table at his new seat is broken, and he tries to fix it but can't. The flight attendant stands as the plane starts moving on the runway and takes off. The students celebrate and clap as the plane finally takes off, but then the plane starts shaking slightly, then returns to normal. Suddenly, the turbulence returns stronger than before. The cabin lights go out, things start falling, and the oxygen masks drop. A fire breaks out on one side of the plane, and suddenly, there's a huge explosion, leaving a big hole in the plane. Passengers start flying out one by one. Ms. Luton tries to hold on to one of them but can't. The fire spreads through the plane. Alex burns, and the plane explodes. Alex wakes up from all this, realizing it was a nightmare. He quickly runs to the seat he was in during the dream, and sees that the tray table is also broken. Alex panics, and starts shouting that the plane is going to explode. Carter attacks Alex to shut him up. Wendy tries to calm Carter, Ms. Luton tries to quiet them, and Hitchcock, who was late, has just arrived. The flight security comes and tells anyone not in their assigned seat to leave the plane. Alex, Carter, Wendy, Luton, Hitchcock, Todd, Claire, who had nothing to do with anything but got scared, and the French teacher who was with them all leave the plane. Luton asks security to let the French teacher back on the plane to be with the other students, and they agree. She stays at the airport, talking to Alex and asking him what happened. He explains that he saw the explosion. Suddenly the window glass breaks, and they see the plane actually explode. All the students and teachers look at Alex, as if he caused the explosion. The FBI interrogates Alex and his friends, telling them no one sabotaged the plane, but they need to investigate the explosion. They question Alex about how he knew the plane would explode. He says he dreamed it, but of course the FBI doesn't believe him, and neither would we if we didn't know about his dream. At the same time, there is no evidence he did anything wrong. They also ask Claire, who had nothing to do with it, why she left the plane. She says she saw Alex scared and believed him, feeling the plane would really explode. Luton tells him not to talk to her again. Todd tells Alex that once things calm down, they'll hang out again and go on trips. Claire gives Alex a flower and thanks him for saving her life. Everyone still thinks Alex caused the explosion, except Claire, who is happy he saved her, and gives him the flower. Todd tries to shave his beard, but the wire rack cuts him. He turns on the radio, but it shuts off immediately. He goes to pick up the clothes he left in the bathtub, but slips on the wet floor, falls onto the clothesline, which wraps around his neck, and he falls into the tub. The soap spills into the tub as well, and Todd starts to choke, his hands slipping and unable to get up. He reaches for scissors to cut the rope, but it's too late and he dies. At the same time, Alex is in his room reading a magazine when a bird hits his window. He throws the magazine at it to scare it away, but the magazine hits the fan, gets shredded, and a small piece with the letters TUD flies out. The story of Todd's death means Alex feels that something has happened to him, so he runs to his house and finds the police, the ambulance. He asks his father what happened, and his father tells him that out of guilt, Todd killed himself. But Alex says it's impossible that he would commit suicide because he had plans with him, and they were supposed to do things together. Alex suspects something is wrong. He sees Claire watching from behind a tree, and the FBI are there too, and see Alex. The next day, Alex goes to Claire and asks her what she was doing at Todd's house yesterday. She says that ever since the plane crash she feels connected to him, and sensed he would be there. They decide to go see Todd's body to find out how he died. They sneak into the morgue, and stand in front of Todd's body, and suddenly, his hand moves, so they get scared. The mortician comes in and tells them to be quiet or they'll wake the dead. He explains that Todd's hand moved because of brain chemistry, and that he didn't commit suicide. His death was part of a death plan for him, and he was supposed to die on the plane anyway. Alex and Clear leave, and discuss what the mortician said. He tells her that after Todd's death, Clear, Carter, Wendy, and even the teacher all have their turn coming. Carter and Wendy are driving and see Alex, so Carter gets angry. Hitchcock is riding his bike and heads toward them, and the teacher was there too. Alex tries to warn them, but Carter fights with Alex. Wendy, Carter's girlfriend, argues with him, and says she'll leave if he doesn't stop fighting. She crosses the road, and suddenly, a bus hits her and she dies. Alex is thinking about what's happening and concludes that the order of their deaths matches the order of their seats on the plane, and that the next one is the teacher. Alex goes to her house to try to protect her from anything that could kill her, but before he enters, the teacher sees him and calls the FBI. They come, arrest Alex, and start to really suspect he's behind everything, but they don't have proof, so they let him go. The teacher is at home, making tea, pours boiling water into her cup, but gets startled and spills the water. She decides to drink alcohol instead, puts ice in the same cup, which immediately cracks, but she doesn't notice and walks away. The cup leaks, the alcohol spills onto the computer wires, causing a short circuit, and the screen explodes, sending glass into her neck. She starts screaming and holding her neck, but the spilled alcohol catches fire, the bottle explodes, and she falls to the ground as the house catches fire. She tries to grab a cloth to stop the bleeding, but under the cloth was a knife, which falls and stabs her in the stomach. Alex comes running to help, but finds her on the floor with the knife in her stomach, and the house on fire. He pulls the knife out. He runs out before the house explodes, and sees Hitchcock, who happened to be passing by. The FBI starts searching for Alex, and questions Clear, but she says she doesn't know where he is. They ask Hitchcock, who tells them he saw Alex leaving the teacher's house yesterday, so they officially suspect him. Clear gathers Hitchcock and Carter, and they go looking for Alex, because he's the only one who knows whose turn is next. They find him and agree they need to escape death again, just like they did on the plane. Carter asks Alex whose turn is next, but Alex refuses to say, insisting it doesn't matter. Carter gets angry and says he's not afraid of death, and if death is coming anyway, he'd rather die himself. He starts driving recklessly, and they beg him to stop, but he doesn't. They're almost hit by a truck but narrowly escape. Carter finally stops the car on the train tracks, and Clear, Hitchcock, and Alex get out and beg Carter to get out, but he refuses. At the last moment, he changes his mind and tries to start the car, but it won't start. He tries to unbuckle and open the door but can't. The train is getting closer, so Alex runs to pull him out through the window. The train hits the car, but fortunately, Alex saves Carter. Carter gets happy, saying that he escaped from death at the last moment. Hitchcock gets angry at Carter. He is standing with the train behind him, and a piece of metal passes by, so it flies off and decapitates Hitchcock. Alex tells them that now only he and Clear are left. Clear tells him to come to her cabin, far from the police who are after him, and she'll keep him safe there. He goes and covers everything sharp in the cabin to prevent anything from killing him. While sitting there, he remembers he changed his seat on the plane, and his original seat was after Clear's, so it's actually Clear's turn, not his. He tries to light the gas to see if anything happens, but nothing does, confirming it's Clear's turn, not his. The police find his location at the cabin, so he escapes and takes a boat, then walks through the woods to save Clear. Meanwhile, Clear is home alone and starts feeling something is wrong. Lightning strikes the main power line, which falls to the ground, sparking and electrifying everything. Clear lights a candle after the power goes out, but the wind blows it out. Her dog is outside near the wire, so she goes to save him, but the water tank falls and floods the floor, making everything wet and dangerous. She climbs up the side of the house as the wire keeps moving. She goes back inside, but everything is being pulled. She goes to the garage, tries to open the garage door with the remote, but it doesn't work. The car gets stuck in the door, and the wire touches the car, electrifying it. She tries to get out, but the car won't stop. Alex arrives and tells her not to touch anything, as the car's tires will protect her from the electricity as long as she doesn't touch the ground. He tries to keep her away from the wire several times, but she doesn't listen. There's gasoline under the car, and it's about to explode. Alex tells her he'll grab the wire, but as soon as he does, she must get out of the car quickly. Clear tells him he'll die, but Alex grabs the wire, gets electrocuted, and the car explodes. Clear escapes, and Alex falls to the ground. Clear runs to him, but his hands are burnt. The FBI arrive and call an ambulance, and Alex survives after saving Clear from death. We return once again to the plane, this time flying to Paris, but this time it arrives safely, thank God. Alex, Carter, and Clear decide to take a vacation after everything that happened. They notice each other and try to change the mood, even to the point where she completely changes her hair color. Alex tells them, but he brings out a paper with the class order and says, "If Clear is before me and I survive death at that moment, that means my turn hasn't come yet, meaning death is still chasing me." Alex starts to get scared and becomes aware of everything around him, feeling like he could die at any moment. He tells them, "Wait here, don't follow me." Then Carter almost crashes into Alex, but Alex avoids him, so Carter hits a pole. The pole falls on a sign, splitting it in two, and the sign almost falls on Alex, but Carter grabs Alex at the last moment and saves him. Carter says to Alex, "Didn't I tell you it was your turn?" Alex replies, "But thank God I escaped it." Before Carter can say, "So whose turn is it now?" the second half of the sign hits someone else, and the cycle of death starts again. The second part begins 1 year after the airplane accident. We know from the news that Alex died in a strange accident, and nobody is left except Clear, and the one who is watching the news is Kim, who is getting ready because she was going out with her friends on a vacation trip. Kim packs her things and gathers her friends, and their journey begins. Kim is the one driving, and on the way she stops at a traffic light. A strange old woman knocks on the car window, startling Kim, but then she drives off normally. Kim's friends keep teasing her because she got scared. Then she turns on the radio, and all the channels are news bulletins, talking about the 1-year anniversary of Flight 1. Flight 180 is the name of the plane trip from the previous part. She's a bit surprised but says it's normal, nothing unusual, and continues her journey. The road is very crowded, with a police car, a motorcycle, and many other cars. But at the front of all these vehicles is the ominous trailer loaded with wood, and the police car is behind it. At one moment, the wood ties break, and disaster begins. The logs fly off, and crash directly into the police cars, hitting the officer. Then the cars start flipping over and the speeding trucks smash into them, wiping them off the face of the earth. Kim and her friend's car is in the middle of this chaos, flipping over 5 times, but they remain alive. Before they can think of getting out, a trailer comes out of the explosions like it's coming from hell, crashes into them, and Kim wakes up from this nightmare, which turns out to be just a dream, or a vision that hasn't happened yet. She wakes up from the terrifying dream while still at the traffic light. Of course, she's terrified and can't comprehend what happened, but she immediately starts to believe it. When the old lady knocks on her car window and the radio plays the same news bulletin, she decides to warn everyone behind her about the impending accident. She drives her car to block the road. People get angry, start honking, and want to move. The officer gets out of his car and goes to talk to Kim, who tells him that a disaster is about to happen and that everyone will die. Then the wood trailer passes by, and she asks the officer to stop it, saying it's the cause of everything. Of course, the officer doesn't believe her, and the disaster happens. The accident starts right in front of them. Kim was standing outside the car, and her friends were still inside. Suddenly, the officer runs to Kim and pulls her away from the car to save her from the truck coming from behind, which crashes into the car and kills all her friends. Kim breaks down because her friends died, but she was the reason many people were saved. What happened to her is the same as what happened in Flight 1. Eugene says, "So does that mean death is after us, and we'll die one after the other?" He mocks her, saying death won't chase us. Stop being silly. They all leave to get on with their lives. Even Kim's father comes and leaves. One of the survivors, named Evan, goes home after buying a new computer. He enters his messy house, and since he's hungry, he grabs a pan with some leftover pasta and throws it in the street. Then he starts preparing food and puts on the ring and watch he just bought, but the ring falls into the sink, so he reaches in to get it, but his hand gets stuck. The pan catches fire, and the flames start to spread throughout the house. Finally, he frees his hand, grabs the fire extinguisher and tries to put out the fire, but it doesn't work. He tries to escape through the window, but all the windows are locked. He starts breaking them and escapes through one, climbing down the fire escape, but the fire escape ladder won't go down to the ground. He jumps and lands on his feet, but slips on the pasta he threw earlier. The ladder falls on his head, but stops at the last moment, so he thanks God. But before he can get up, the ladder suddenly drops and pierces his head, killing him. He becomes the first victim, and the news of Evan's death reaches So Kim goes to Clear and asks her how to escape death. But Clear has locked herself in a mental institution in a room secured from anything that could harm her to protect herself. Kim goes to see her and removes anything that could hurt her before entering. When they go in, Clear is scared and tells her not to come close. Kim tells her what happened and asks for her help, but Clear refuses and says if she leaves, she'll die. So goodbye. Later, Nora and her son Tim go to the dentist because Tim has a dental problem. The dentist starts treating him, but something strange is happening. A pigeon is pecking at the window, which bothers the dentist a lot, so he doesn't give Tim an injection, but instead gives him gas anesthesia. With this anesthesia, the patient is awake, but can't move any part of his body. The dentist leaves everything and goes to check, but Tim's mouth is still open, and a toy hanging above the bed falls into his mouth. He can't move to remove it, so he starts choking, but a nurse removes it and saves him at the last moment. He leaves. As they're leaving, Kim and the officer arrive because they're next in death's order. Kim had seen a dream involving pigeons, so she warns them from afar, telling them to watch out for the pigeons. There are many pigeons on the ground, so the foolish Tim runs to chase them away. But as he's running, he falls onto a glass pane, which literally crushes him. After what happened, Clear's conscience wakes up, and she leaves the institution to help them. She takes them to the mortician who appeared in the first part, and he explains death to them, and that there is no escape. But finally, he tells them they can break the cycle by having a new beginning or a new life. They leave the mortician not understanding his words, but think that a pregnant woman who was with them after the accident could be the key. If they save this woman until she gives birth and a new life begins, they might stop death's cycle. So the officer starts searching for the pregnant woman, and the rest of the survivors gather at the officer's house. Nora, Tim's mother who just lost her son, is there, as well as Kat, Eugene who still doesn't believe what's happening, and another guy, and Kat says, "I've just started my life. I don't want to." Kim tries to convince them there's a solution, but Nora says, "If I die, I will rest in peace. I want to die." She leaves the place and Eugene tells her, "I'll come with you." So Nora and Eugene leave together and take the elevator. After they leave, sees a shadow of a hook on the ground. He imagines it's a sign for Nora's death, the one under the light. He calls her and her phone falls from her. She bends down to pick it up, but her hair gets caught in the hooks that the man set up. Nora is talking to the officer on the phone, but she can't hear clearly. As soon as she hears the word hook, she gets terrified and tries to move away from the man behind her, but her hair is pulled by the hook. She starts screaming and tries to pull herself away quickly, but she can't free herself. The elevator door opens, so she gets out, but her hair is still caught in the hook inside. The elevator moves up and starts to pull her head, and Eugene tries to help her from inside, but it's too late. Her head is separated from her body. Eugene, after seeing all this, literally collapses. He grabs the officer's gun and tries to kill himself. He shoots himself 6 times in the head, but there are no bullets at all. The officer is surprised and opens the gun to find it full of bullets. Clear comes in and tells him it wasn't his turn to die. Then the officer's friend calls and tells him, "We found the pregnant woman you were looking for. She's with me now." So they head out to reach her and help her give birth before she dies. At the same time at the police station, Isabella, who was 9 months pregnant, starts going into labor and asks the officer who brought her to take her to the hospital quickly. They also head to the hospital, but by coincidence, on the way, Isabella and the officer with her crash into our hero's car. Isabella asks the officer to continue to the hospital because she's about to give birth and someone else can help those who were hit. He listens to her and leaves. After the accident, the woman who was driving was unconscious and couldn't move. Eugene is injured with a pipe, but the officer, Clear, and the stoner are okay. They get into the ambulance and head to the same hospital. On the way, the car almost hits a young boy from the farm, where the accident happened, but the stoner saves him. A press car arrives and crashes into a rock on the ground, causing its gas tank to start leaking. At the same time, the firefighters bring a saw to get Kat out of the car. As soon as they start working with the saw, it hits Kat's face and pushes her head into a pipe in the seat, piercing her head and killing her. She was holding a cigarette in her hand, which falls onto the leaking gasoline, setting it on fire. The press car explodes, and the explosion blows off the iron fence, hitting the guy and cutting him into 3 pieces, leaving only Clear, Kim, and the officer, who get into a car and head to the hospital, hoping that no more accidents happen this time. On the way, Kim has a dream, or vision, where a doctor is trying to revive someone's heart. She doesn't understand what it means, but thinks the vision is about Isabella. They get to the hospital quickly. Clear goes to check on Eugene, and Officer Kim goes to Isabella, who thankfully gives birth. Eugene, who was cursed, has his life support machine stop working, and gas leaks into the room. While Kim, Clear, and the officer are celebrating outside because they think they stopped the curse, Kim has another vision and sees her hands covered in blood and a car sinking in the lake. At that moment, Kim remembers that Isabella didn't die in the car accident at the beginning of the film when she had her vision, and that Isabella isn't part of the death circle at all. That's why her baby's new life didn't stop the curse. Clear runs to Eugene's room to save him, but a spark ignites the leaking gas, causing an explosion that burns Eugene and Claire. Kim looks at her hands after the explosion and sees blood on them, realizing she is the one who needs to give a new life and stop the curse. She escapes from the hospital, gets in the car, and the officer tries to stop her, but she tells him, "I'm the one who is supposed to die." She throws herself into the lake, just like she saw in the vision, and most likely passes out. The door closes, but the officer pulls her out and takes her back to the hospital. They revive her just like she saw in the vision, and her new life begins. In this way, she breaks the death curse, or the circle of death. Sometime later, the family from the farm where the car accident happened invites Kim and the officer to celebrate their survival. Their young son Brian, who was saved by the stoner from being hit by the car, is there. His mother tells Kim and the officer what happened, and Kim gets scared when she hears this, because Brian was supposed to be dead. Before she can say anything, Brian is preparing a barbecue for the gathering, but the grill explodes in his face, cutting off his hand, which lands on the table, and his mother screams in terror. So has the death curse really ended, or will we see it again in the next part? And with that, part 2 ends. If you liked the video, subscribe to the channel and activate the notification button so you never miss